My son was caught in a vicious, bitter custody case that lasted over 16 years in 3 provinces. He had 7 name change. And he was adopted twice by the new spouse of the mother. The first time I was not even informed. She just got him adopted, although there was already a judgment in Alberta. Imagine, there's a judgment in Alberta, but she went to BC and got the child adopted. So when the adoption came about, it had precedent on custody, so the judgment of Alberta was useless. Imagine, in a country like Canada, we're talking about agreements between countries. We cannot even standardize our laws in this country. How can we have laws that differ so much from one province to another? We should take the best of every province and we should uniform the laws. But above all, the law should only be there to make sure that nobody manipulates the system for their own personal need. The focus should be education, prevention. This is a social issue. Let us deal with it in a social way, not in a legal way. So this is one of the big priorities of the OPCR. My son was deprived of the richness of a relation at one point for 3 years. For 3 years, he couldn't see me and couldn't see his grandparents, his aunt, his uncle and cousin by technicalities. Imagine, they're talking about the best interest of the child. That beautiful little boy could not call, communicate, he couldn't even benefit of the richness of the relation with his family. One time, there was a minister that went across Canada, and Lloyd Axworthy, that was, and they were meeting with researchers, professors, specialists in different dilemmas on social issues. And I asked his honorable minister, I says, imagine you had a train that left from the Maritimes and is going to Vancouver. And on that train, you have a beautiful boy. And with him, his mom, his dad, and all the enlarged family context. But while the train is going through the Rockies, a sad incident happens. The train derails and falls down the cliff. Now, I asked the Honorable Lloyd Axworthy, if all the family of one side of that child would die, would that be a tragedy? And needless to tell you, you could have heard a fly in that room. So quiet it was. And he says, absolutely. Well, I says, this is exactly what separation and divorce do to so many children in our country. It is time for the government to really implement everything it takes to make everybody tick in the right way. I founded the Organization for the Protection of Children's Rights following a separation that I had with my ex when she disappeared with my son. And I started to do a lot of research about children and their rights. And the more I read, the more I saw there was a problem. But not only did I realize, the more I read, there were problems with children's rights. I realized thousands of kids were living that problem, separation and divorce, and thousands of kids were stuck in a tug of war. 2 parents fighting to try to become the owner of that child. After seeing the legality problems in this country, and after seeing how much agony children were going through, and seeing the suffering of people, we came to a conclusion that basically the only winners of all of this were lawyers, attorneys.
So 2 years ago, in the midst of his own custody battle, Ricaardoe Di Done founded the Organization for the Protection of Children's Rights in Canada. A non-profit organization, its goal is to promote the concept of joint custody, that is, equal sharing in parental rights and responsibilities, as a way to prevent the children from being torn apart.
So I decided to create the organization and create a scientific committee. Why a scientific committee? Because I had realized that every discipline would talk for their parish. Lawyers talk about the law, psychologists talk about psychology. The idea is we should emphasize the child. We should emphasize the best interest of the child within an enlarged family context. And above all, how could we better prevent problems? So that was what the OPCR was just about to become. An organization where our priorities would be to make sure that we can prevent problems before they ever occur, because sometime when they occur, it's too late. When I founded the organization, it's one of the saddest things was to see how people would give you a pat in the back. You're a nice guy, they commend you, but I mean, there's no money to be made there. So I was shocked to see how, you know, it was a different world. Although the beauty that came with it is the new kind of people I got involved with over the years. People like Dr. Rowe, John Mole, General Judge Herbert Marks, and many others. Some people have been there for over 20 years, like Dr. Dominique Debatte, Aldo Moroni, Justin Lévesque, pioneers of mediation for Quebec. You know, so that's the positive aspect. Sometimes people will ask me, what makes you tick? And some may be the genes when we were born. Perhaps the love and care you had when you were a kid. For instance, my dad used to take me fishing when I was a small little kid. He would go trout fishing in a little creek, but he would carry me on his back all along. I mean, I must have been a real burden, and yet he would bring me all over the place, or hunting. My grandpa, that was a chef cook, also a musician, after church, when I was a little kid, every Sunday at that time, he would get his accordion out and we would sing and dance. So that gives you an aspect of life that is very positive.